Welcome to another episode of Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton. And on this episode, we will be talking about one of the key and marquee matchups, I should say, in the NFL in week 2. That would be the Kansas City Chiefs heading down south to Duval to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I wanted to bring someone on that knows in and out about the Kansas City Chiefs. Someone that is very, very knowledgeable, and someone that I could say is, he definitely puts in the work. That would be Mr. Darren Smith. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Appreciate it, Mike, and thank you for those kind words, man. I do be putting in some work. People just don't understand how much work that actually goes into what we do. But yeah, very happy to be here with you today.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And of course, the people do know how much work you put in those suits before every game, though.
Well, I just wear the suits. My stylist picks it out and gives them to me, and I just try to make it look. I try to make his work look halfway decent. So, but thank you.
Yeah, big time. Got the stylist over there. Okay, no, okay.
Hey, look, it helps. It helps that he asked to sponsor me. So, so what comes with that is just free suits, and I'll take them.
Well, there you have it. There you have it. But before we get into, of course, Jacksonville versus the Kansas City Chiefs, we do have to have the Get Off Your Chest segment. Of course, this comes with every episode. Doesn't necessarily have to be on the AFC South. Could be on anything. And on this episode, we got the grand opening and the grand closing of the Aaron Rodgers era. Well, I would say the era this year in New York. Of course, for everyone that's been under a rock, fourth play of the game, gets sacked, he gets his feet tangled up, and what comes to fruition later on is that he popped his Achilles, which I've seen that in person. Someone playing basketball did a crossover, did a simple move, and his Achilles just pops right in front of us. So with that, of course, a lot of the high hopes for the Jets have kind of gone by the wayside, and, people aren't really believing in Zach Wilson, and nor do they have great, reasons to, based off the tape that has been shown in the past. But, a lot of the hype and a lot of the Jets fans, I feel bad for them because they had some genuine hope because Aaron Rodgers was there. He was going to make everything all right. And then, boom, goes down with a torn Achilles. So, I feel for them, but hey, the show must go on. The Jets must still play, and they'll probably figure out some ways to win. They still have a very good defense. So, we'll see what happens going forward. But, grand opening, grand closing of the Aaron Rodgers 2023 season. And it's not good for the Jets fans. You got anything to add to that, Darren?
Well, my Get Off Your Chest segment for me would be hopefully people will start to understand that some of these quote unquote wonder boys are not these top 3, top 5 quarterbacks that everybody say they are, i.e., Josh Allen, i.e., Justin Herbert. Saying I'm getting real tired of people trying to throw these players up into the same stratosphere as Patrick Mahomes and to an extent Joe Burrows, and I wish they stop. And their play, Justin Herbert's been an average quarterback throughout. Yeah, gaudy numbers. Yes, but Phillip Rivers had good numbers too and was never, that dude. So I wish they stop it. I think Josh Allen, who's led the league in turnovers with 84 since he's been in the league, has shown that he is just not that guy. And, hopefully now people will start seeing it and will start talking about it more so like they do Dak Prescott and his turnovers. So we'll see.
Yeah. Definitely interesting the how he's kind of fell off the wayside a little bit in the turnover area since Daboll left.
Well, he was turning the ball over even with Daboll, but to a greater extent now, it has been noticeable.
Very much, very much. And I was watching that game, I was like, where is he throwing that football? That's where my mind was going when he was throwing something. But of course, we had that in Nashville, some people were having that question too. But we'll go into that another time. For another day, but we got to get into it. The Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champions, opening night against the Detroit Lions, and of course, the buzz is out there. Everybody's talking about the up and coming Detroit Lions, but you still have the champs there. But it wasn't necessarily the champs that we all knew necessarily from last year, because Chris Jones is actually sitting in the stands eating popcorn watching the game. and you have Travis Kelce on the sideline being the huge cheerleader for the team. So they did drop the game to the Detroit Lions. They are 0-1. But, of course, there is a few questions that I do have about this game. The first question I have is, when they showed Chris Jones on the screen eating the popcorn, relaxing in the stands, what were your thoughts and feelings when you saw that?
I didn't see the popcorn part, but the one clip that I saw was him sitting between his agents. He looked, in my opinion, he looked miserable because it looked like he wanted to be down there, but due to contract, issues with he and the team, he was in the stands. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I know a lot of people were, thought that he shouldn't have been shown there, but they did have the, the championship banner reveal, and instead of being on the field, he was in the press box. Well, he was in the suite. Again, I personally don't have a problem with it because that's what he chose to do. But when I saw on television, I just thought he looked miserable. So it didn't really do nothing for me because they didn't have my parlay or anything, so it didn't really matter.
Right. I mean, it did. To be clear, I am not mad. Hey, do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do to get your funds. I understand that because the NFL is not for long. But, hey, it is what it is, and it didn't really bother me that much either. I mean, hey, if it had been my favorite player on my favorite team and contract negotiations, hey, I understand. You got to get your bread. I get that. Business people got to understand. Stop putting their personal feelings in the way of business.
The problem is that with fans, they can't separate the two. So, and I've said for the longest that fans are, everybody knows short for fanatic, but they're fans of the organization and not, they claim to be for the players, but when it feels like the players are sitting down and it's affecting the team, then they turn on the players. So it to me, I sit back and laugh at it because it's like, they can't make up their minds one day they want to talk about how much they love the player, the next day, oh man, I hate it, go ahead and trade them. So it's like, whatever, shut up.
Right, man. It's interesting. Now, of course, Chris Jones wasn't out there, but the defense actually played well. I mean, a lot of Spagnuolo was in his bag. I can definitely say I haven't seen him do a lot of things he's done like this since he was the defensive coordinator for the Giants. So I would say I really did like the kind of things that he brought in terms of different pressure packages and things like that throughout the entire game. So I got to commend Spagnuolo for that one. Did you kind of expect a little bit of those things, or did you, kind of thrown off a little bit by how deep in his bag he went?
No. I had posted on social media before the season started that knowing that Chris Jones wasn't going to play in the first game, that I thought we would see some of Spag's greatest coaching moments not only for this game, but this season, depending on how long Chris Jones sat out. I know, in speaking with Spags, that he would like to have the opportunity to be a head coach again. And, and what better way, at least, in that game, especially if he's going to pull out the win, and that was more on the offense than the defense, then it would have been like, okay, people, as you just got to doing, talking about Steve Spagnuolo getting into his bag. So I've been someone who, I've championed Eric Bieniemy to get a head coach job, and perhaps he will soon. But I've also championed Steve Spagnuolo. I think he's a good man. He's a good person. He's a great coach, and he has taken a defense that was pretty much last in the league the first year Patrick went to the AFC Championship game, and has turned it at least during the time where they have the championship runs into a average to a top 10 defense. And last couple of years, saying they've balled out. So.
Definitely. Now, of course, like I mentioned, Chris Jones wasn't there, but Travis Kelce wasn't there either. And offensively, I could say it definitely showed because, Mahomes in some instances, he didn't really have his safety valve there. And then in other instances, when they needed that big play, he would go to particular players and they would drop the football. I'm not mentioning any names. Pretty sure he's already got enough on social media, but anyway,
no, it's Kadarius Toney. You can use Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore. We keep it.
I mean, they need those guys. Eventually, they're going to need those guys because those guys are going to have to make plays and catch the football. I think, honestly, Sky Moore more than Kadarius Toney, because Kadarius Toney, to me, either he's going to get injured at some point in time and not be out there.
Well, he's coming off the injury, so But to your point, Kelce was the bigger was the biggest miss versus Chris, because they had kind of planned, without Chris being there, because you could just attribute it, his absence to just being injured. Kelsey literally getting injured 2 days before kickoff. That was a problem for them because they couldn't really change up the game plan on the offense during that time. But in Kansas City, they don't really do the excuses. Their thing is next man up, and so people had the opportunity to make plays and make a name for themselves. And unfortunately, they didn't. As we mentioned, Tony, Sky Moore, MVS to an extent, Blake Bell, a lot of these players got playing time that may not have, gotten playing time had Kelsey been in there or had balls thrown their way. And so all the opportunity that these players had to make catches, contribute, extend plays, move the chains down the field, maybe perhaps score touchdowns, they didn't. And so that's something that, obviously Andy and the coaching staff has probably got on them this week. We'll be back in the locker rooms leading up to the game on Saturday, and so I'll definitely be trying to get some comments from some of the players to get their feelings, because after the game, a lot of the players kind of dipped out through the back of the locker room to avoid us. So won't be able to do it this week, but we'll see whether or not when we go into the locker rooms, whether or not they're already gone out the back door again during practice. So we'll see.
All right. Well, they can't really go out the back door too much. They go out to one of the moat where the alligators are in Jacksonville. No, I'm kidding.
Well, by that time, it'll be too late.
Yeah, that's true. But as far as the team they will be playing, we're going to kind of get into them and talk about them. But of course, before I be talking to them about them, I'm going to hit to a couple points. Then we're going to hit a commercial break. But Chris Jones, he'll be back this week. He got the contract 1 year with $25 million plus incentives, I believe is what it was.
Well, it's 1 year up to $25 million.
Up to $25.5 million. Okay.
With incentives. So he'll get his regular $19.5 million salary minus the fine. So it'll be down to like 16.5. And then with the incentives that he's able to try to make, it'll essentially be $22.5 million if he can reach everything, which for him to reach all that, essentially he'll have to be defensive MVP in Kansas City winning the Super Bowl. I can live with that, or I can live with one half of that with the Chiefs winning, and he falls short of that. So.
Right. It's going to be interesting. And then, is there any updates on the health of Travis Kelce at this point?
At this point, as we're talking, no. He is, however, projected to be able to play come this weekend. So they took a lot of the swelling out of his knee, from his deep bruise. But if he can practice as they prepare, if he can practice up until Friday, if he can practice by Friday, he should be good to go on Sunday.
Gotcha. Well, I had to figure out who was going to be in this game. Of course, the Jaguars and the Chiefs are a divisional round matchup. Rematch, which will be very, very interesting to watch, especially with the new addition in Jacksonville. We're going to get into that and more when we come back from commercial break.
A shift is something that happens and changes the dynamics. And that's what happened when Garrett Logistics was born. After 10 years as a sales pro in the logistics world of sporting goods, John Garrett decided to pivot to the world of freight and start a brokerage. So you're saying to yourself, why trust Garrett Logistics? Well, Garrett Logistics helps shippers improve overall workflow, along with increased on-time pickup and delivery percentages. Last-minute loads, multi-drop pickups, and more are part of the services with Garrett Logistics. They're available Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., all times Central Standard Time. So give them a ring at 615-400-8484. That's 615-400-8484, or you can email them at john@garrettlogistics.co or visit their website at garrettlogistics.co. Garrett Logistics, where the motto is, it's not just freight to us, it's your business.
All right, and we are back on touring the AFC South, and we left off. I was kind of teeing up, the changes going on in Jacksonville, and one change that is, really kind of stood out, especially in the first game. That would be Mr. Calvin Ridley stepping in and Marvin Jones Sr. going back to Detroit. First game, it seemed like they had symmetry out there in terms of Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley. I mean, I saw one pass. He threw it between two guys. I don't know how Calvin Ridley hung on to that pass between two people. I mean, it's just amazing to watch. Now, of course, that is the only weapon they have in terms of Calvin Ridley. They have Evan Ingram. They also have Christian Kirk. They have Zay Jones, who I like to call Bruce Leroy, by the way. If you see his picture, you'll know why. Travis Etienne, and of course, the straw that stirs the drink, that'd be Mr. Trevor Lawrence. Now, with this team and all the explosion they have, I mean, they had a bunch of mistakes, and they still put up 31 points. Does this team kind of worry you with all the weapons that they have offensively?
I don't want to be flippant about it, so I'm going to say yes. Look, they're an up-and-coming, hungry team. They do have all the right pieces. They have young players that got a small taste of playoff success last year, obviously coming back from behind to beat the Los Angeles Chargers in the playoff. Look, they've got a former Super Bowl winning head coach who once coached under Andy Reid here in Kansas City, so I know him very well, and Doug Peterson. So they're going to be coached well. They're going to be well disciplined. To me, they have a great defense. I mean, they've got a lot of first-round draft picks on the defensive side of the football, along with, as you mentioned, Trevor Lawrence, who was the number one pick in the year he came out, I think 3 years ago. Obviously, Travis Etienne, still a running back and can catch the ball out of the backfield. And Calvin Ridley, obviously, being suspended last year out of Atlanta, due to the gambling stuff, but coming back this year, I think he had like 9 catches. I know he had a touchdown. He's hungry as well to, kind of put his name back in the list, back on the list of some of the top wide receivers in the league. So, yes, Jacksonville can beat Kansas City. I know the last time these two teams played in Jacksonville, I know it was at that game. I'm trying to remember. I know the last time the Chiefs played them, the Chiefs beat them a few times, but I know if I remember correctly, the last time the Chiefs played them there, I believe it was the year 2019, the year that they won the Super Bowl, as Tyreek Hill got injured in their first game. So look, yeah. So I'm expecting a high scoring affair because I expect Travis Kelce to play in this game, and that will get the offense kind of rolling once again. And that's just once you get Kelce, if he's healthy and he's good enough to play, he's going to get the offense kind of jump started. And defensively having Chris Jones back, he will cause havoc on the Jacksonville offensive line. And this will also be a return to Jacksonville for Jawan Taylor. So so he'll get a chance to play in front of his old fans down there in Jacksonville as well. So I'm expecting a big game. I'm expecting really a high scoring game. And if it's not, I will be a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the fireworks in this one, and I'm definitely going to have my popcorn ready, as T.O. would say. As far as this game, Jacksonville, like I mentioned, the hits and misses. They had a couple fumbles. They had 3 fumbles. They only lost 1. Then the interception. The one fumble they did lose was a fumble that, of course, DeForest Buckner picks up and runs in for a touchdown. But it just, to me, watching this team, it seems like they were just, if they come out in this same fashion and they make some of these same mistakes, it could get real ugly real quick, in my opinion.
Yeah. No. I mean, that's fair, but but to that extent, we saw Kansas City. Kansas City had many opportunities to break the game open against Detroit, and with all the drop passes and not return over downs, but just the missed opportunities. Where they had to punt the ball. Yeah, and I always go back for me. Start the second half against Detroit. They were already up 7. Had they went down to score the first time coming out of the half, they've been up 14. Now we might have a different ball game. They, went 3 and out. The defense held. They got the ball back, and they still couldn't put points on the board at that time. So, so while it could go, while Jacksonville had their issues against Indianapolis, Kansas City is not with that fault. So I could easily see a scenario where if they're not careful, Kansas City could be on the wrong side of the scoreboard.
Now, mentioning defense, of course, with Kansas City versus the Jacksonville offense, one thing I also look at, too, in this instance is Bolton and Gay. They're kind of going to be, it's a different style offense, of course, with the Lions versus going against the Jaguars, being that they have so many weapons at wide receiver and tight end.
Yeah.
So I kind of wonder how Bolton and Gay are kind of going to fit in this game, provided all those different weapons that could stretch out the field. I mean, do you see they're kind of maybe being a little bit of a disadvantage because they're going to have to be able to spread the field so much?
No, Kansas City, kind of runs a 4-2. Well, they generally play with 5 defensive backs out there. So I think, as the receivers, they'll have them covered. Bolton will probably focus more so on Travis Etienne, and you'll see Willie Gay more so focus on the tight end if they try to go out and pass the football versus running it. So no, I think, but again, what they'll have to do is with Chris Jones, and he may be on a limited snap count. I highly doubt it because as the game progresses or whatever, he'll find himself being in the game. But I think with Chris Jones being back, if he can kind of get the pressure to Trevor Lawrence, kind of knock him, and make him uncomfortable, then I think that will give the defense a chance to get home. So I actually think that they might get a couple of sacks and some corner blitzes on Trevor Lawrence that he might not be expecting.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting, the chess game, offense and defense, in terms of the Jaguars and the Kansas City defense. But let's flip it over on the other side. The Jacksonville defense, the one big knock against them is getting home to the quarterback. They get pressures and all those different things, but getting home to the quarterback is their biggest knock. Last week, though, they got home at least 4 times with the combination of Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker. What I will say is Josh Allen, of course, not Josh Allen from the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He got home 3 times, which it kind of gave people shades of his rookie year where he had his best sack total. So, if he's able to kind of keep this up this week, does that kind of worry you with, of course, Jawan Taylor on one side and my guy from Tampa Bay on the other?
Donovan Smith. Well, I'm gonna be honest. I know he had 3 sacks last week, Josh Allen, but I would say this: Mahomes is yet to be sacked. Now, granted, it's 1 game, and then he wasn't touched in the preseason. So, thus far, the line is held up. Now he's been under pressure and running. He's ran and gotten tackled from behind. But as it relates to what qualifies as a sack, he has not been sacked yet. So, if Allen or anyone else were to get him, then yes, I would be surprised because thus far, Mahomes has been fortunate not to have been sacked so far. So, yeah, I would be surprised because the line has held up. They've had success in blocking for Mahomes, in the couple of preseason games and obviously the regular season game. And so, and looking, they were going up against Aiden Hutchinson and other players from Detroit that were trying to make a name for themselves. So, again, last week's game against the Lions, the Chiefs' offense with the wide receivers dropping all the footballs, that shot them in the foot because they should have won the football game. I don't do excuses, but but what happened is what happened. And so, if Josh Allen got to Patrick Mahomes more than once or even once, I would be surprised at this time just because he hasn't been touched yet.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, another question I do have, Mr. Tyson Campbell is out there, and he's making a name for himself, growing into be a better corner. Now, when he first got into the NFL, I had worries about him even catching the football, to be honest, in terms of interceptions, because he was always there. He just couldn't catch the football. But now he's doing a little better in terms of making interception. Had one last week against Anthony Richardson. Versus, the Kansas City wide receivers versus Tyson Campbell, I would give the edge to Tyson Campbell in that aspect. However, I will say there's 2 corners on the field, and Mr. Williams that used to play for the Rams is not necessarily a guy that's pretty tall. So I think this is a pretty that kind of evens out the matchups, provided the Kansas City wide receivers catch the football this week. So, do you expect them to kind of go at a little bit at Tyson Campbell a little bit, or kind of Mr. Williams on the opposite corner for the Jaguars a little bit?
Well, let me tell you. I mean, Mahomes has gone after Jalen. I mean, he doesn't have a problem going after anybody. That's just who he is. That's just what he's made of. I know that Campbell, not only did he have that interception, but he also forced a fumble. So he's going to be pretty active. Again, I always go back to if Mahomes does what he's supposed to do, and this is something from someone that I see practice every day, I don't think that there's any matchup that I'm worried about him whether or not he wins or goes after. As it relates to Campbell or the other gentleman that you mentioned, um, you know, you've got MVS, you got Rasheed Rice, who are 6'2" and 6'4" respectively. And then you have players such as Tony and you also got Justin Ross at 6'3", 6'4" as well. So and they have players with speed, Tony, Sky Moore, with his route running. So it's really going to be up to, I would say, if Mahomes is accurate with the football, placing, not overthrowing MVS or underthrowing or throwing behind a player or something like that. If he's accurate and can put the ball in places where the receiver can catch it, he won't have a problem going after Campbell or anyone else in the game.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it'll definitely be an interesting, I guess, a little bit of a cat and mouse game because, I am kind of rooting for the Mr. Caldwell, the defensive coordinator for the Jaguars because, of course, he caught a lot of heat because the Jaguars defense was doing all other things but getting to the quarterback. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, he's doing a masterful job because he's not getting to the quarterback, but he's fixing some other stuff. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's making it happen.
I mean, the other team gets paid too, so they
Right.
It might be a job to go out and get to the quarterback, but it's the other side's job to keep you from getting to the quarterback. So
that's true.
That's
true. I hear you there. It's always interesting the flack he gets, but he does a pretty good job considering they don't get to the quarterback as much. So that's what I thought was pretty interesting there. But a couple of different questions, a couple more questions I have.
Sure.
The Chiefs win this game defensively if they do what?
Get after Trevor Lawrence. Bring him down on the ground. The quarterback must get hit, and the quarterback must go down. So you got to get pressure on him.
Right. And offensively, the Chiefs win this game if they do what?
Catch the football. I mean, seriously, they catch the football.
Right. If you see, the funny part would be is Kadarius Toney after the game, if he thanks his hands like Freddie Mitchell, I would die laughing if that happened.
Look, hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to Kadarius in the locker room this week. Hear it in Kansas City before going down to Jacksonville. If not, then we'll catch him in Jacksonville. Because it's going to be hard. From the last time I remember, it might be hard for him to try to walk past us, in the locker room to try to get out to the team bus, whatever. So we'll see. Like I said, here's the thing: if he has a better day than he had last week, he won't be hard to find in the locker room.
Right. They're always easier to find when the good days happen, right?
Right.
All right. Well, we have reached the end of the show, but we are not going to be off the air yet. There is a game. It's 5 questions, 2 answers, and 1 choice. Darren Smith, are you ready?
Sure. Hope so.
All right. First question: Gates or Jack Stack? Which barbecue you taking?
Come on now. I still don't even need to. I don't even have to say that, but come on now. You already know.
Okay.
Really, do I really to answer that? I mean, I will for the show. It's Gates Barbecue, but come on, man.
All right. Hey, just throwing them out there. But next one: Herbert or Allen? You have to pick one quarterback. Which one you taking?
Mahomes. If it's one game for my life, I'm dead. Because Herbert's gonna blow the lead, and Allen's gonna turn the ball over. So I don't know. I can't answer that one, brother. I lost that one.
All right. I'm gonna go to music on this one. You got one catalog you got to pick. The other one you got to throw it away. It's Stevie Wonder or Michael Jackson. Which category?
I figured you was going. Those are the two. Woo! I'm gonna keep Michael Jackson and throw away Stevie Wonder. That's gonna hurt, but I got a lot more Michael Jackson in my catalog than I do Stevie Wonder. It's funny. Spiritually, if he hit me with these two, now had you said Boyz II Men, then I'd have picked Boyz II Men. But yeah, Michael Jackson.
Gotcha. Okay. And let's see, Raiders or Broncos? One team you have to cheer for one game?
I'd say the Raiders because I like Las Vegas and I like gambling, so I would go with the Raiders.
Raiders. Okay.
Yep.
All right, and last one: Steve Young or Joe Montana? You have to pick one quarterback to win one game between
Montana,
these
all
two.
day,
Which
every
one
day.
are you picking? What's
Montana
that?
all day, every day, and twice on Sundays.
All right, there you go. That's 5 questions, 2 answers, and 1 choice. Thank you, Mr. Darren Smith, for coming on, giving everybody the insight to the Kansas City Chiefs and Jacksonville Jaguars. I can't wait to watch this game. I'm excited just thinking about all the offense that's going to happen in this game.
Man, I'm dreading the humidity down. I don't want to sweat my suit out, so that's what I'm worried about.
Got you. Well, if you can, tell everyone where they can find you on social media and what all things that you are working on.
Sure, you can find me on social media at Darren Smith WHB. You can look me up on Facebook. I think at Darren Smith 816. Currently, I'll be in Jacksonville covering the game for our radio station here in Kansas City. Check me out on our pregame cheat sheet with myself and Steve Walls, and then we also do a postgame show at the stadium following the game, press conferences, interviews with the football players and Andy Reid, along with our post game show or our Red Hour that we do the day after Chiefs game. So we'll be back in Kansas City on Monday, doing the Red Hour live here in Kansas City. So that's pretty much it. Just a lot of work. Actually, when I get through with this, I got to do a sports article for local black newspaper here in Kansas City.
Hey, there you go, and there it is, and here I am. I'm Mike Patton. You can find me on Twitter the artist formerly known as Twitter, at Mike Patton 82. That's MikePatton 82. Yeah, I owe the Prince every single time. But you can also you can find me on Instagram and Threads at that's THA, not THE _general_MP. And of course, touring the AFC South, you can find it on YouTube. Hello, everyone. You can also find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio. You name it, we are there. Thank you all for tuning in to Touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton. We're out.